So every month about this time, we try to take a look at what's going on in the market. And thankfully, because I am an old man, I have one point of view from an old guy's standpoint. But Mary Gaston from Realty Pro 100 comes in here and gives us some enlightenment from the millennial standpoint. She's got a whole different vantage point than I do as an old guy. And we chat about some of these things and what she's seeing with her contemporaries, what I see with some of the old people, and from what both of us see out in the marketplace, because we're both out there talking to people all the time. So, good morning.
Good morning.
So, anything exciting in the market, or is it just status quo? Has anything changed?
It just feels scary out there.
Is it scary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at it and I keep wondering, and what's it's been kind of that way the whole year, though.
It has.
There's been nothing that's been exciting. There's been nothing to buy, nothing to sell. I don't know what.
And it just seems to be getting worse.
Does it seem worse? Yeah, just because, well, why would somebody, the only reason, and we go back to the same thing we've talked about before.
Yeah.
The only reason that anybody buys or sells anything right now is the 60s, right? And I don't know. I see a lot of people involved in those 60s, and it's going to get worse. The defaults are going to go up.
Yeah.
Now, I just saw that we're at a record level of defaults of people under 40 on credit card debt.
Really?
That's a new one. I mean, because we're living off of credit cards more and more.
That's true. I do hear a lot of chatter about that. Is most people with the inflation, they can't even afford groceries anymore, so they're just racking up the credit card debt.
So it's almost like I know it's before your time, 2007, 2008, when we used to just take do a HELOC or refinance, take money out of our house and buy a boat or buy a car or some of the stupid things that were done. But now we're doing it for necessity.
Yep.
That's the problem between gas, food, paying electric bills, gas bills.
Yeah, and everything just shooting up.
It's all shooting up. It's all going crazy right now. Boy, can we get a mean tweet? Oh, that's just my point of view. But let's talk about this one, because we do hear in the media a lot about foreclosures. Are you seeing that at all?
I haven't really seen anything.
So,
I mean, I would say, yeah, they're probably up in the numbers, but
so here's
not record breaking.
Right. So here's the issue. And one of the things that I'll chat about here is just straight math. I don't understand this Common Core math or anything of those things. Right. I just look at just straight math. And when I look at math, and when we use charts all the time to do this, let's think about this. If we go from a million, and I shouldn't do a million because that's hard math. Let's say if we go from 1 to 2, that's a 50 per 100% increase, but it's still a low number, right? If we look back at 2009, the charts show that we had way more defaults than we have today. So even though we might say that the number is up because it's up, say 50% or up 30%.
Yeah,
the quantity
up
is zero
from all-time lows, though.
Right. So the number is still insignificant in the scope of the country.
Yes.
So don't let anybody tell you that you're going to wait for it to get the defaults. Now, will there be defaults? Sure. There's always defaults.
But they're far and few between. I want to say that the report I saw said there was 4 in all of Orange County or something like that.
Yeah, it's a very, very small number. So, and I haven't looked at that report, but it wouldn't surprise me if you're completely correct. It's just the numbers are crazy. So let's not get too excited about the fact that we've got, what was it? Almost 550,000 foreclosures in 2009. And I don't know, we're under 100 right now. And a lot of that has to do with the moratorium, but it's just real small.
Under 100,000, and that's a
right.
national number, isn't it?
National numbers, yeah. So the next area let's chat about, because you may be hearing more about this one, Mary. People buying a property for Airbnbs. Do you hear that at all?
You know what? I think it's slowed down a little bit personally.
Okay. Do you have any idea why?
Well, because Airbnbs are ridiculously expensive now. Nobody's going to them anymore.
Ah, okay. So I don't think I've ever stayed in Airbnb.
You haven't?
No.
I mean, well, all the chatter I hear, I mean, it gets ridiculous. It was supposed to be like an easy alternative to a hotel, and then a cheaper alternative, especially if you have a big group. But now it's you go and they have a lawn, like you're basically doing your own maid service. They charge you a cleaning fee. They have a whole list of rules that you have to follow. You have to strip your own sheets and start your own laundry and do all this stuff, and they're charging you cleaning fees on top of it.
That doesn't sound fun.
The price you see, you end up basically paying double with all the added fees. Where now it's just it makes more sense just go stay in a hotel again.
So I've always said that from the very beginning, though, just because, again, maybe it's because I'm old and I don't like change too much. But when I go on vacation, part of the enjoyment of the vacation is the resort and the amenities of the resort and not doing all the things you just talked about.
Yeah. And especially if they don't have like any amenities or they don't have a pool or anything like that.
Right.
Why go stay there? It used to be just a cheaper alternative. It's not cheap anymore.
That's good news, and I love you sharing that information because my kids go to Airbnbs all the time, and I just haven't been able to figure out why. But now maybe they won't be going quite as much. But let's talk about the Airbnb from the business standpoint. Do you think it makes any sense to even be in the Airbnb business?
I mean, right now I think it's going to be a lot harder with those margins. I mean, they're going to have to start charging more to just cover the monthly payments. Well,
part of the question though is, I mean, I hear a lot of folks leaving California, and my constant recommendation is, if there's any even hint that you're going to come back, why would you sell your California property?
100%.
Especially if you've got a 4% mortgage, right? I think you can still make money on the.
But why Airbnb it out? Why not just get an actual monthly tenant in there?
That would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Because then you have actual, guaranteed income. Airbnbs can go up and down.
Yeah, so
nothing's really guaranteed there.
Well, do you think though? I mean, because I have a friend of mine that does Airbnb or VRBO or whatever it is in the Coachella Valley, and he says on 5 weekends a year he can cover his entire mortgage.
That makes sense. If you're in the Coachella Valley, yes. If you're close to Coachella and Stagecoach and everything, or I'd say if you have like a cabin in Big Bear, sure, you're going to make money during the winter and everything. But if you just have a normal house, you're not going to make money just Airbnb out all the time.
So let me throw this one, not to put down anything, but is there any such thing as an Airbnb in Palmdale?
They have them. They're far and few between. I mean, my friend rented one once for her wedding. Like a couple of guests stayed in it, coming out of town.
Oh, okay. So it's for guests for a specific.
Yeah, and they got ready there.
Palmdale's probably not a destination area.
No, there's not very many Airbnbs. So if I had a house in Palmdale and not Airbnb it out. No.
Okay, so you might, like Mary said, find a different way to deal with it. But now the flip side of that is that an opportunity though, if for a real estate professional or for a consumer to look for that Airbnb is possibly. Is there a way of even identifying where Airbnbs are for a real estate professional to go and say, hey, maybe you're tired of this, you want to sell your house?
You know what? They don't give out the addresses unless you book them.
Okay. So you just have to find the neighbors.
Pretty much.
Because the neighbors are going to be the ones that are going to be complaining about it.
I feel like the only way I would ever Airbnb, if I was rich enough to have a vacation home, I'd probably Airbnb it if I wasn't staying there, But I'm not going to buy. I personally wouldn't buy a property just to Airbnb it.
I agree with you because even if I had the vacation home,
I probably don't need the money.
Right, I'm not. I'm not really thinking about. I want to. Part of the convenience of that is you get up in the morning and you say something. Let's go to Big Bear. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the Coachella Valley. Wherever you are, your clothes are there. Your food is there. Instead of having to go deal with all that stuff. Going to continue our conversation. We're talking to Mary Castone this morning, Realty Pro 100, the millennial and the old man, talking about what the perceptions are in the real estate world and maybe even what reality is. So we're talking about the Airbnbs before. We're talking about low inventory, which we know there's, I don't know if you can, is there something less than low inventory? I mean, no inventory. I mean, I looked, I haven't looked this week yet. Last week I looked. All of Anaheim Hills, there's about 23,000 residences, not counting the apartments, and there was 33 single-family homes for sale.
That's nothing,
right? There's nothing there. I looked at Yorba Linda. They had for the whole city had 30 houses for sale. So now the question and we've heard this a lot. I don't know if you've heard this one, that the big companies are buying up everything.
I have heard that.
Have you heard that? Well, should we dispel the myth, the
Let's
rumor?
do it.
Total purchases by size of investor. So the iBuyers, 3,000 purchases. And this is coming to us from John Burns Consulting. Companies that have 1,000 or more properties, 1,959 purchases. 100 to 999 properties, 4,692 purchases. 10 to 99 properties, 16,928. If you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, you're seeing this chart right there. So on all of these properties, now this is purchases through the second quarter of 2023, 125,006 of the investor purchases were people that had 1 to 9 properties.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of, the numbers don't bear out what people are thinking is that the investors are buying everything.
They are a very small portion.
Yeah, you look at that. I mean, I don't think you could even do the math on this. I mean, the percentages are less than 1% for everything, and 99 and a fraction for the individual that's out there looking to just do a small investment.
Yep.
And yet you and I are talking about this whole concept that, you know, is it really a good time to be buying as an investment property?
You know, there are still a lot of investors out there. Yeah, you can still make money. I mean, there's still people who are still flipping, which is almost mind-boggling to me. But
flipping, well, so here's my thought on flipping is the average individual that goes and buys a house stretches to buy the house.
That's true.
And if you've got a house that's an older property, and we're not building anything, so most everything is older, it has work that needs to be done. So you're getting somebody else to do the work, and that way you can build it into your loan. Otherwise, you don't have money to do the work.
So let me ask you: there used to be loan programs that would help you with that? Are there still?
Yeah, you can still do the FHA 203. There's 2 different versions of FHA loans that'll help you do that, but again, most people aren't even thinking about that.
Yeah, but that's something that we need as like agents and mortgage professionals to go out there and discuss.
Right, because it's out there.
They're going to end up spending more money buying the flip that's renovated than they would have if they had bought it themselves to that type of program. And
yeah, you've got two different aspects of that. When you're buying the flip, you would think that the person doing the flip has better access to pricing for the contractors and for the materials.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of people who are flipping who don't get great materials. You know, they go and put makeup on the pig.
Absolutely.
And you're going to walk into that flip and you're going to walk into problems.
That makes sense. Absolutely. The other part of it is the investor is in it to make money.
Exactly.
So they're going to be adding a profit. So the profit might offset any savings. And then you're going to know this one better than me, Mary, because I don't get a vote in my house. My wife gets all the votes when it comes to anything as far as the aesthetics of a property. I'm guessing you have the same thing.
Oh, no. My husband always overrules me.
Does he really?
He does.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know about this guy. You might have a problem coming down the line. I don't know.
You know what? I'll give it to him. He's normally right. We've been going back for the paint colors. I picked the one I want. He said, okay. We end up going with the one he wants. It looks better.
Okay. So you're like me. I mean, I have no taste. But you know, I look at that and I say that it's kind of funny because most women, when they go into a new house, they want to change their paint and they want to change the carpeting and they want to make it themselves their property.
Yeah, even with flips, as nice as they look, there's always going to be something you want to change.
Right. So in that instance, even, you know, look at that FHA 203K loans. It's probably be better off for you. Now, percentage of sellers who want to rent their home because of mortgage rates. Being that we're in Southern California, we'll look and say, okay, 11% want to rent their home because of the rate. Let's see, if you're looking at a 3% loan or 4% loan, which we know the vast majority of the people are under 4%, you can make money on a rental, can't you?
Absolutely.
Is it enough money to offset the acquisition? Because you got to still have you have to either buy a new house or move to a Coleman tent, one or the other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at this chart, I automatically think Southern California is higher just because our income is higher. Probably more of us can afford to, you know, those high income earners. The 11% are probably the high income earners who'd say, I'd rather just buy a new one and rent it out. I think most people, it's harder to do that in Southern California or other areas.
Well, especially the younger people, because I mean, you're trying to find your first house.
Yes.
Just whatever you can do to get into it is what you're really wanting to do.
Yeah.
So,
So it's definitely hard to keep it and then go purchase another one, but it is doable.
and you've proven it.
I have, yeah.
Well, and the other part of it is right now, stretch.
You have to. I mean, anytime you buy a property, the moment you buy the property, normally it's not gonna. You can't rent to cover a mortgage. Like when I bought my first place, I knew that what my mortgage was at that point in time. I never would have been able to rent it out and cover that mortgage. Now, 7 years later, I'm making money on it by renting it out, and my rent is considerably lower than it should be, just because I have friends in there.
So you got okay. So and that's not abnormal, right? I mean,
yeah.
So, but there's a big advantage, and most people never talk about the big advantage of low rent. We always talk about, okay, you want to maximize your rent, but at some point, at some number, you can raise the rent and raise the rent and raise the rent. And then if you have 1 month where it's vacant, how many months of that rent increase are eaten up by one vacant month?
Exactly. I have only ever raised rent on tenants. Well, I don't even raise it on tenants. When someone moves out, then I raise the rent to what market is. But if the tenant is in there and paying and taking care of the property, I will never raise the rent on them, honestly.
It's smart because we used to use this concept. If I don't hear from you, you won't hear from me. If you're going to call me because a light bulb went out, I'm going to probably raise the rent. If you're going to take care of the light bulb or some, minor issues, I understand the major things.
Yes.
Right. But if you're going to call me for something minor, then we're going to have a conversation both ways.
Yeah. And I'd rather keep someone in there who's going to be paying me than try to have it vacant for a month or two and clean it up and try to find someone new.
A lot of expense in that. So, and you look at this, why would somebody really want to be building right now with these interest rates? We talked. I should go back because I forgot part of my thought there. It's my senior moment. Okay, I've got some timers, not all timers yet. But when you talk about the stretching right now, and we know, I don't know, 6, 12, 18 months. I went and listened to an economist from UCI last week. He has no clue when interest rates are going to go down. So why would I think I do? Right? He gets paid big bucks to watch this stuff. I don't. Right? But they're going to go down at some point. So we can, if you stretch right now, rent could be going up. We know that, in a national level they are.
Yeah.
But mortgages generally, especially when at a level right now, they're going to only go down.
Yep.
Right? So we can refinance and make more money. We're still in good shape. Rental owners plans to sell properties in the 2 years to come. So that's a very small number. Again, people that own rentals are not looking to sell.
No.
You look at the chart here, and this comes from, I can't see the Buildium, I think is the name of the company that does the source of the research. 32% are either likely or slightly likely to sell. 32%. So investors don't sell.
No.
Why would they?
Exactly. They're making money on it.
They're making money, and you've got a tax benefit until you get to the point, which I know you're not there yet, Mary, that you've depreciated 27 years worth of, or 30 years, whatever your depreciation is. You've still got all those benefits to it, and you don't have a tax liability.
Yep.
So unless there are some people, I guess, that like to pay taxes. I do come across them because we show them how not to, and they don't want to. So I know they like to, but so the big surprise, though, when you and I started doing this, 3-4 years ago, something like that?
Yeah, it was 2020.
2020, okay. 3 years ago. Neither one of us, I don't think, would have projected a 7% mortgage rate or 8%
Absolutely
right now.
not.
Right? I mean, the markets were nuts. We didn't expect those kind of things.
I also never would have projected it would have fallen into the, 3s or 2s.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's talk about that for a minute, because I get this part, and I don't know whether the millennials do. Because you hear a lot of people saying, well, I'm going to wait for the rates to go back down to 2, 3, 4%. Right? Do you hear that?
I do, and it's laughable because that was the one time in history it's been that low.
Right.
So what makes you think it's going to fall again like that?
Well, and that's the issue is the two times in my life where I've seen interest rates well below our norm, which is I think 7 and a fraction, is the average for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
There's been two times I've seen it where it's been extremely low. One of them was the Great Recession. Do you want to go back to that? No. One of them was the pandemic. Do we want to go back to that?
Only because the traffic was so nice, there was none.
Okay, so that's you, Mary. That's you, finding the silver lining in everything. Love that. But the bottom line is there was reason that we had those low rates, and the reason was not good.
No.
And we don't want to go back to that. Continuing our conversation, Mary Gaston, Realty Pro 100. We're looking at the real estate market right now. And what are you going to do if you want a house? Now, if you're one of those, I talk about the 6 Ds all the time. And every once in a while, I can remember all of them. I try to do them in order. Otherwise, I can't get it all. So we've got diplomas, diamonds, diapers, divorce, death, and default. Those are the people that have to. They have to make some sort of a move, right? You know, if you're getting divorced, whether you've got a 3% interest rate or a 2% interest rate, you probably don't want to stay in the same property. Just a guess. I've never been divorced, so I'm just throwing that out there. If you're having babies, you probably want to get out from the cold tent or mom and dad's basement. So those folks are really looking for opportunities. And one of the things out there that we're seeing more and more is a novel idea. You'll love this one, Mary. It's actually the working realtor. Now, I know only about 10% of the ones that have licenses work, right? But the ones that we're knowing are out there going and visiting people or finding different solutions, looking at those that have had a recent, I hate to say this, but there is tracking that have a recent death from somebody that owns a property, and that family might need some help.
Yep.
Right. And the bottom line here is it's not being an ambulance chaser. It's actually providing help to 2 different families. One family that might want to liquidate that property because they already moved to Texas, and mom and dad stayed here. And then somebody that just got married or had a baby wants a new house.
Yeah. Right.
So right now, good, bad, or ugly, the numbers actually show that new listings are going up in August, and historically they never go up in August. Have you seen that at all?
Yeah.
Are any of the properties staying on the market?
They are staying on the market longer, yes, but they're also pretty much still selling.
So what do you see? I mean, why do they stay on the market? Is it because people are they think that they're going to go up 20% every day, or what do you think?
No, I think just the demand has relaxed a little bit with those interest rates. So they're not selling as quickly. And I think it's also, the people who think it's still going up, so they're pricing a little bit too high.
Okay.
Thinking they're still going up, which right now is more of a segment, I would say.
So the values are kind of leveling out a bit.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay.
So it's the people who are thinking, oh, well, that one just sold at 700, now I want 715. So they price it too high.
And everybody's property is the best one on the street.
Absolutely.
They don't go. They probably didn't, as in your example, the person that's now at 715 probably never went and looked at the property that just sold at 700. Nope. Right. So where do people come up with their numbers when you hear the marketplace? I mean, you got to keep it clean. It's a family show. Where do you think people are coming up with the numbers from? They just throw it out there?
I mean, I really think it is more they go online, they go to Zillow, they go to those kind of places, and they've never seen the home that's just sold next to you. They've never seen your home. They can't compare the two.
Makes it very difficult. And so how would my real estate professional educate? How would I expect a real estate professional to educate that person?
They need your real estate agent is actually doing the research and comparing the property. So we're not appraisers, but we can look at one property and compare it to the next.
Sure.
And give a realistic valuation of where it should fall.
And in most cases, do you think the real estate professionals have visited that prior sale?
If not visited it, at least done the research and seen the photos and I get calls from agents all the time asking about the properties, that I've sold, and sort of seen, they'll call me and say, hey, I'm listing a property on the street. Can I just get some info from you? So we're calling and actually talking to the other agents as well.
And are agents willing to give out that information?
Most are.
Okay, so they'll help each other. It's not like, I want this. I'm competing with you.
Yeah, I'm not saying, oh, cool, there's someone selling down the street, I'm going to go door knock and find it and get to them before you can. No, if someone calls me, I'm more than willing to help them out and give them the information.
So it's a professional courtesy.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. And you're looking at the people that are wondering about moving. You look at interest rates is another one that stops people from selling.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if somebody's dealing with a probate, are they going to keep the property? Do you hear much about creative financing at all?
Mm-mm.
You don't hear that at all. So I want to throw this one out at you and get your thought. So I was chatting, and don't worry about the numbers because it's big numbers. I was chatting with a gentleman that focuses on probates over the weekend, and there's a property that's available for sale, and it's probably going to be a $2.5 million property.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a $2 million VA loan at 3%. And we know VA loans are assumable, but you have to get approval from the investor or the lender.
Okay.
Most of them are not going to want to, let that be assumed.
Mm-hmm.
But you can buy the property subject to the existing loan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's actually now a spot on the real estate, on the residential purchase agreement. It says creative financing or seller financing. Now you have to come up with, somebody's going to have to come up with the spread between the existing loan and the purchase price.
Yes.
Would it bother you buying a property that's subject to the existing loan?
No.
Okay. So it's because that's something that's out there. There's a value to that somebody buying that property having a 3% mortgage at $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, a $2 million loan right now, I think we talked about that earlier, is, if I can find my chart here, 7.86. Right? So 2 million at 3%, obviously the payment's going to be less than half.
Mm-hmm.
The risk is that there is a clause in there, they call it an acceleration clause. Right? The lender doesn't have to call the note, but they could. Does it make sense to look for a property like that?
Yeah, definitely.
There's value there. So again, talk to your agents about that. These opportunities are there. You just have to be working with somebody that understands the market. There's a lot, you got to work harder to find a property. It's not like you just drive down the street and see 10 of the houses on the same street.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to help you.
Absolutely.
That's our story for the day. As always, I appreciate you coming in and chatting about this stuff with me.
Yeah.